How are you? Doesn't sound good, to be very honest. I mean, if this is good, I didn't hear anything from this side, but yeah, there we go. So great. Um, I'm sorry, I'm between breakfast and my flight. To keep me anywhere for more than 4 days is kind of like a difficult job to do. I am a nomad. I travel the world. But I was so happy to see my book here, right there on the shelf. And I think the title really tells you what it's about. It's not about bamboo. It's about making certain everyone has a home. A home, not a house. A home. And to me, this is where we have to make our mind meet opportunity. We are bombarded every day with all the problems in the world, and we are just shocked by everything that's going around us. And it's normal you feel angry. It's normal you feel very angry, and very few of us will have the capacity to turn that anger into positive action. I was a publisher for years of an American called Lester Brown. Some of you remember Lester Brown? State of the World reports. Every year a report came out by Lester Brown showing the statistics of where the world was going. And I'm going to tell you, as a publisher, I had to read that book, and after doing 4 versions, I said, I'm done. I'm fried. I can't publish anymore. I sold the publishing because I just did not want to read the bad news anymore. I thought time had come to create the good news. I don't want to read the bad news. So what you're here for is for your own lives to decide that from now on you're going to create good news. And even if you have to shut off your mind, just shut it off and don't listen to the shit anymore, because what we're hearing every day is just not what inspires us. And we need inspiration. And that is why I'm so happy and proud to be associated with these incredible people called the Hardys, because they give inspiration. Thank you for being such an inspiration. You know, we need to be inspired to get our hands on the challenges that we have created ourselves. We're responsible for the challenges. My master is nature. The only one who's resolved this for millions of years, billions of years is nature. And we still don't understand how she works. I mean, let me ask you the question, who knows the 7 laws of physics nature uses to ensure that an apple goes against the law of gravity up in a tree? Give me the 7 laws of physics, please. Yeah, you 1, 2.
Transpiration.
No, that's not part of it. So what I'm trying to say is that how come all of you will be able to say, law of gravity, yeah, but that's going down. Before it went down, it went up, ladies and gentlemen. And how come we have no capacity to understand how the apple got up in the tree or the water got into the coconut? There's no pump there. We do not understand how she works. We have no clue. She's a mystery. And yet we think that with genetics and chemicals, we can save the world. I don't know who put it in our brains, but you know, the way we're teaching young kids today is an absolute rape of the mind. We're raping the minds. We're not just stunting creativity. We're raping the minds because the potential that's in there is never getting a chance to come out because we don't even like to ask the right questions. Today, everything is about instant gratification. It means you ask something, you get a response. That means we have kicked logic out of every kid's brain. When you're not enough logic anymore, I wish you good luck to be resilient in society. You can write books about resilience, you will never have a resilient society because it's instant gratification. I ask a question, I have an answer. No, I have a million answers. And the one who paid most is the one who's on top. Now, this is an amazing situation we have created. And that is why we need to come back to places like Ubud. That's why we need to come back to a place where we can just disconnect from this. And may I just ask you, we turn off the lights? I just don't know why we want to spend that energy. Can we just turn it off? The sun is so beautiful. Oh, thank you. Now I can see what I say with natural light. So where am I coming from is why did I get involved in bamboo? I got involved in bamboo because I thought we need to change the logic of building. And it's not building with bamboo, it's grow your own house. I mean, if we planted in Manizales the bamboo, you know, in 3 years later on my farm, we could harvest the bamboo and we could build a house. It's a 5-year plan, right? Now, if I'm building the house and I convert 15% of the farm, the coffee farm, monoculture, genetically modified, chemically induced, if I can have 15% of the farm converted to bamboo, I will regenerate the creeks on the farm. I will regenerate my water. I will purify the water because the chemicals my neighbors still are using is going to be purified thanks to the bamboo. So I'm not just taking care of my building material, I'm taking care of my habitat. And this is the magic of bamboo. But if you're in bamboo, you can't do it without the arboloco, the Montanoa quadrangularis. You have to understand who is symbiotic with this. And the reason why I asked the architect to design what he designed is because I love, not the bamboo, I love the mushroom. The magic of the world is with the mushrooms, not with the bamboo. No bamboo without the mushroom. And if you don't see the mushroom underneath, then you do not know what life is all about in nature. Because bamboos talk to each other thanks to the mushrooms. And they are talking very busy. They're busy bees talking to each other. And so what I thought is that I needed to have a pavilion, where we can marry a lot of symbols into a structure. I'm not going to go through all the symbols in there, but the building is a pure symbolism because we talk with symbols. That's how cultures have passed on interest, knowledge, inspiration, motivation by having symbols which people understand. And those symbols are different symbols for different people. It's not the uniformity of the Googles and the Amazons and globalization. Everyone finds in there a symbol, and that symbol is what I wanted to have with that structure. But the core behind it is a fungus, is a mushroom. Mushrooms rule the world, ladies and gentlemen. It's the connector of everything. It's been around for 1 billion years before animals and plants were around. So to me, grow your own house is what we want to do. But why do I want to grow a house? Not because of the house. Grow your own home is not because of the home. It's because today, all around the world, farmers are losing out. We have this incredible logic of globalization where we produce more of the same, always more of the same, on these economies of scale, ensuring that prices get lower and lower. And that is done with something that's called supply chain management. Have you heard of that? Yeah. Outsourcing and supply chain management. We train 1 million MBAs every year with a diploma for which they pay on average $40,000, so they will all fall into the same mold. Supply chain management, cheap is good. And what is the result of the logic of supply chain management, cheap is good, is that it's the farmer that's squeezed out and everyone else makes money. I got involved in Colombia not because of the bamboo, because of the coffee farmers. Manizales used to be the wealth of the country. El Eje Cafetero used to be the wealth of the country, and the Eje Cafetero today has 52% of the youth malnutrition. Give me a break. 52% malnutrition. That means I have failed with my bamboo strategy because statistics have gone the wrong direction. And I think this is very important. What I thought we were going to be able to do in the year 2000, the millennium year, is something that has not achieved its objectives. I have failed what I wanted to do at that time. We have a long way to go, and that's why I come to people like you, spend some time with you, because we need to spread the good news that yes, we can turn this around, but don't repeat my failures. And so, where are we going? We need to recover the countryside. We need to have livelihood on the countryside. We need to ensure that the farmer, who's the custodian of the land, can regenerate his forests. We need to ensure that the forests are not protected. We need to double the number of forests land we have around the world. And that means we need to find an economic model where we're able to generate more with what nature does. And I give you a comparison. If I have a diverse rainforest in Colombia, that will generate for me 500 tons of biomass renewably every year. If I cut it and I have genetically modified soy and I secure the right chemical cocktails to go along with it, I will have 5 tons of biomass per year. I don't know who's in charge, but it's quite obvious that 5 tons compared to 500 tons is an abysmal comparison of productivity. Nature is capable to produce so much more, but of course, if you're only interested in soy oil, then the only thing you see is soy oil, and then of course, soya oil, for those, you know. We need to be able to get beyond that logic, and that's why my whole work is focusing on how do I get more income for the farmer. And how can I get the income for the farmer to the point that he's not interested anymore in simply getting more output. I mean, we've put ourselves in a corset, in a straitjacket, and that straitjacket is called output per hectare. We have one parameter. The mind, ladies and gentlemen, the world is three-dimensional, and we're giving 2 dimensions. If you're only farming soil, you're farming soya, you're only farming in 2D per hectare. If you're farming bamboo, you're going 3D because you're doing 25 meters up. 3D does more than 2D, do we agree? I mean, that's what we learn in elementary school. But when we get to the real life, we don't apply it anymore. We do everything in 2D, including our internet. Our internet is the most stupidest thing we've ever had because everything is in 2D and real life is in 3D. That's why we need virtual reality. To cheat on ourselves. We can cheat. And it's not really good, but because you put it on around your brain, you're really messing up your brain cells with the intensity of the radio waves and the intensity. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go back to the farm. Grow your own house is really the logic of how do we get revenue, value to the farmer. And when the farmer has value, we can move the value chain up to whole worlds. Today, George Clooney makes $120 million on promoting Nespresso. That is more than all the coffee farmers in Colombia have gained with Nespresso. This is insane. Ladies and gentlemen, I have nothing against George Clooney, certainly nothing against his wife. But don't you come to an agreement with me that $120 million for promoting Nespresso in aluminum capsules, which we throw away and which you're doing a little bit of CSR, so that we look good, and then we pay Instagram trenders to make certain that we can advertise on organic farming with Nespresso capsules? I don't get it. I mean, is this how far we go? I mean, can we get more fake? Can we get more fake? No. And that is why we need to get back to the basics of life. And the basics of life is the soil, is a black soil, is earth. And we need to regenerate that black earth. And what do we need to regenerate black earth? Sorry to say it so bluntly, we need pee and poo. But we have designed a system where the first thing we do with pee and poo is mix it with drinking water. I mean, can we get more stupid? I mean, we say there's not enough water in the world, and 1/3 of the water consumed in urban environments is to flush pee and poo. And the guy said you can't reduce the water consumption because otherwise it doesn't flush in the pipes anymore. Well, change the pipes. It's about time, they got a lot of holes anyway. So we're in a system where we are defending the existing and we're not ready to move. And the only one who's ready to move because they're in crisis is the farmer. The fisherman, the farmer, and the miner are the basis of our consumption model, and we're exploiting them all the way. That's why the rediscovery of the bamboo is so important. That's why the rediscovery in Colombia of the coffee is so important. So let me talk about coffee, because it's the farmer. And a farmer who does coffee the right way will have bamboo. I don't want to have an obsession about bamboo without seeing the ecosystem. We need to see the ecosystem. The ecosystem needs to give us an opportunity to see the social system. A social system where we can satisfy our basic needs with what we have, and we have the opportunity to imagine happiness and health. Do we still have the right to do that? Who of you knows our project in Colombia, which is much more important than the bamboo project, called Las Gaviotas? You know Las Gaviotas? How come you know it? Have you been there?
I read a book called Gaviotas.
Oh, yes, that's great. That book was an American who came for one day and wrote a book. Isn't it amazing? Americans are extraordinary communicators. One day, write a book.
They are.
So, I'm glad you read it. Las Gaviotas is a project where we've taken land that had been denuded by the Spanish colonizers 250 years ago, and today we have regenerated the biodiversity of the Amazon forest right there. Regenerate biodiversity. This is the place in the world where we have full employment. When people, refugees come from Venezuela, we think it's a great opportunity to be creative and invent new things to do. Immigrants come, it's an opportunity. You invent, you get creative. But our goal is full employment only. We think the greatest cancer in society is when young people do not know what to do. We need creative people to think very creatively and actually create things. Not be creative, create things. And that's with your hands. So we have full employment. This is the place where every child gets 3 liters of drinking water for free. 3 liters of drinking water for free. And every child at the age of 6 gets a bicycle for free. What happens when kids ride a bicycle every day and drink 3 liters of water a day? They get so fucking healthy we had to close the hospital for lack of patients. Doesn't it sound like this is the society we want? Or you want to calculate development by the number of beds and machines you got? We don't need it anymore. We've kicked out diabetes in 30 years. Kicked out diabetes in 30 years. Gastrointestinal diseases, kicked out. No amoeba anymore. It's gone. Why? Because the kids are drinking water. No sugar. We just decided no. And we decided that the bicycle is the interesting thing. And we just create amongst the kids the same atmosphere as hermit crabs do when they need to change their little shell because they're outgrowing it and they need to shift. Have you ever seen the hermit crab standing in a row and shifting from one to the other? Isn't it a great clip? I mean, that's what we do with bicycles. I mean, do we need to have internet for that? Do we need to have Amazon for that? Fuck you, we don't need that. You need to get the community to talk and say, my kid is now 8 and yours is 6. Can we switch bikes? Can we do that still? And so I think this is where we're going. So I'm looking for this opportunity to regenerate revenue, and I'm just going to go for 2 angles. You know, you have one danger. When I start talking, I don't stop. Because it's so exciting what's happening. And on the other hand, it is such a transformation of frustration into positive action. You know, we need to learn how to channel our energies into the positive actions. And so one of them is that I've decided to redesign with a team coffee. And so I'm sorry I don't have it in my pockets, but we have now created solid coffee. Solid coffee. It's insane that we're drinking coffee and we think it's very normal. Who had coffee this morning? Okay. Do you realize that 99.8% of what the farmer produced is thrown away by you? 99.8%? Because what you ingest is only the soluble component. Everything else is thrown away. Well, I know you're composting. Certainly when you're here. But it doesn't make any sense. We have a consumption. And don't say, I'm drinking tea. Tea is worse. 0.1%. Only 0.1% of the leaves harvested by the farmer is giving value in that supply chain system. This is insane. And I've never seen a Greenpeace campaign against coffee drinkers and tea drinkers. We are worse than Monsanto. Monsanto at least uses all glyphosates. But we allow ourselves to use 0.1% and say it's bio. Are we ready to shift our thinking? And so we now today have 5,000 farms around the world doing mushrooms and coffee. 5,000. And people say, Gunter, what a success, and saying, no, what a frustration, should be 1 million. There's enough coffee waste to do at least 1 million. We can generate 50 million jobs. But what is key is that even by doing the mushrooms and the coffee, it's not good enough. because then I realized that the coffee bean we harvest, we ferment off the outside and we only use the bean. The outside is the richest source of amino acids in the world, and we throw it away. I don't get it. Amino acids shouldn't be thrown away. So I said, how can I integrate it into food? And of course, the experts in coffee say you can't. So if someone tells me it's not possible, then I ask them to leave the room. Let's only have people in the room who say it's possible. You know, and anyone says the law says that, well, fuck the law. We're not going to respect the law. We're going to ensure that we have the exceptions to the law. And so today we're taking the full coffee, the cherry it's called. We take the cherry, we dry it in the sun, make it easy for the farmer, peel it off. Then you have the bean, and the bean is roasted for eating, not for drinking. Then we mix the two with cacao butter, and we have a solid coffee which competes directly with Red Bull. It's a shot of caffeine with amino acids. Now, Red Bull somehow has succeeded in creating a product where people are willing to pay ridiculous prices. If we're doing half the price of what Red Bull is getting, we're paying the farmer $100,000 a ton. $100,000 a ton? Yeah, that's not me deciding. It's Red Bull who set the standard on the market. And so when the kick of caffeine, which they're getting from chemically extracted caffeine from decaffeinated coffee, they're taking that. And that's what's being converted into your Red Bull. When you can see the pricing they can do, then you say half price, right? Get the same kick. $100,000. That allows us to tell the farmer, let's buy the land back that you lost to the bankers because you couldn't pay with a bad harvest your loans and they took possession. Let's buy the land back. Let's buy the land back because you can only eat a coffee bean provided that you have shade. Shade means you have to regrow the forests. Regrowing the forest on $800 for a fair trade and organic coffee doesn't work. But on $100,000, it works. And so what we're doing is we're securing that the farm, of course, is also having its bamboo there. Because when the bamboo is there, we know there's going to be water. You don't need irrigation. You need to go organic, you need to go bio, but you need to regenerate forests. The world needs regeneration of forests. And at $100,000 a ton, I don't care if productivity drops by 50, 60, 70%. I don't care. But we're regenerating forests, we're regenerating soil, we're getting the water system back in by what? By outcompeting Red Bull. That's what I'm about. Because there is a reality. And the reality is that all kids going through exams, all truck drivers around the world, and all gamers around the world are drinking Red Bull. You like it, you don't like it, you have an opinion, I don't care. We need to be better. I don't divide the world in good and bad. I leave that to someone else. I'm in the world to do better. And whatever we see, I don't have an opinion about the good and the bad. So what we need to secure is that bamboo gets its right position in an ecosystem of coffee. Simple as that. And that's where I started from. That's what this book was all about, is how do I get value to the farmers by doing this house and make the house beautiful. And when I was being told that Colombians don't like to live in bamboo houses because it's a symbol of poverty, I said, what is for them then the symbol of middle class? And I got a beautiful answer. The balcony. The balcony. I said, well, if it's the balcony, let me make a house with a balcony. And that's what we did. You know, and the beauty is with bamboo, building a balcony is not difficult at all. Doing it with concrete, steel, and cement, it's a big cost. And then what we realize is these buildings get a little bit hot and uncomfortable sometimes in the summer and humid. And so we needed to create a vortex. So we needed to do 2 stories or 3 stories to get the vortex wind whirls in there so we'd be fresh all the time. Actually, when I have designed my first houses, my wife complained that the bedroom was too cold. That's nice. She will sleep closer to me. That's what I call by design. Create some coldness, you know, in the tropics. Because normally when you're in the tropics, couples don't like to stick too close together because we get sticky. But when you create a naturally air-conditioned place, you have people coming nicely together because it's too cold in bed. Ladies and gentlemen, the coffee is one of those initiatives where we're understanding that the bamboo is, of course, a symbiotic relationship. The coffee needs actually not just the bamboo because of the water. The farmer doesn't only need it in order to make a beautiful home, but we also need it because of the fungus underneath. I mean, the coffee is attacked by fungus. You have the right mushrooms in symbiotic relationship with your bamboo. Your coffee is not attacked by the fungus. I mean, that is what we need to understand. And of course, even with all the engineering we've done with chemistry and with genetics, we have no clue about that. Because the genome of the coffee doesn't tell us about the talk they have between bamboo, coffee, and fungus. You don't see that in genomes. You only see that when you're with your hands in the soil. So let me talk about my biggest use of bamboo today. It's not in housing, it's not in construction. My biggest vision for bamboo today is for diapers. Diapers, you heard me right.
Yeah, diaper, yeah.
You call it Pampers if you are Procter & Gamble brainwashed. You know, I hope you don't use diapers anymore. But some of you may have kids who still use diapers. Who has kids with use diapers? Yeah, so here we are. And so what do you do with a wonderful thing when it's nicely used? You go to the garbage, and the garbage goes to where? Well, here it goes into the rice fields when it drops off the truck. You know, you can walk through rice fields in Ubud and you will find soiled diapers. I have pictures of that. And so I have 6 kids, so I went through quite a bit of it. And so what we realize is the diaper, what's the key function of the diaper is absorption. Now the absorption they've created is with acrylic. They put in a cellulose. So Indonesia is the largest supplier of cellulose for diapers in the world, with genetically modified pine trees planted on denuded areas. Indonesia is the #1 supplier of the raw material of diapers, genetically modified pine trees, because they are ideal to be mixed with an acrylic. And when the acrylic and the fiber is put together, there is 500 times more absorption capacity than the pee in the poo could ever produce in liquids. As a result, when the baby is getting up, it doesn't feel wet. When the baby doesn't feel wet, it doesn't feel discomfort. Therefore, they've been able to extend the use of diapers from 9 months to 3 years on average for every child. It's great for business, isn't it? I mean, that has to go on Instagram. But if you do, I'll get sued by Procter & Gamble. And that's the hard reality. I am sued regularly for saying things. And of course, it's always settled out of court because I want to get lost. I want to be condemned in the court. I want to be condemned because then we can expose the logic with which they work. And sometimes you have to go through that exercise. The key, though, is that we can substitute that cellulose with a much more efficient cellulose, which is called bamboo. The bamboo cellulose can absorb 10 times its own weight. Now, before a baby can produce a liter of pee, I mean, let's be honest, that's, even you and I don't do a liter. Even when we pee together. We gotta be realistic. This is insane what they put with the acrylic and the absorption capacity. It's totally insane. It's over-designed. So we've designed the bioplastics. We have factories for the bioplastics. And now we mix it with bamboo fluff. The bamboo fluff, because I don't have to convince you how fast bamboo grows. You know the numbers. But we need to get volume to the point that it outcompetes the genetically modified trees. The world, we like it, we don't like it, it's about competition. Now, we can do it because we have much more value. And why do we get more value? Because the best of the bamboo, we don't want to turn into a fluff, we wanted to turn it into charcoal. Because we know that bamboo charcoal is great for the skin. And if you have a baby with a red bum, I guarantee you, you don't sleep at night. Or you use this chemically produced penaten cream from Germany, which is pure petroleum, and then the bum will get relieved and you will sleep and the baby will sleep. So now you choose petrochemicals on the bum or change the logic. All through Asia, all cultures know that you need bamboo charcoal. Bamboo charcoal is great for the skin. The skin recovers quickly thanks to that. Now, the baby will have a black bum. Now, you want the black bum and sleep or a red bum and not sleep? I think we all agree as parents, if you've gone through it, you take the black bum. I mean, basically, you wash the baby, right, in the morning when it comes out of bed. I mean, what's the problem? And you're securing you're getting. Now, if you have a combination of the fluff plus the charcoal, you're generating a revenue that the farmer has never seen with bamboo. The bamboo becomes a source. Plus, you're going back to culture and tradition. Now, when I have the mix of bioplastics, bamboo cellulose, bamboo charcoal, and the incredible content provided by the babies, which is even extraordinary when the baby has been fed with mother's milk, that high quality mix is turned into terra preta, black earth. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to urgently replenish the soil of the earth. We do not need hydroponics, we need soil. We need black earth. We need microorganisms. Nothing generates better mixes of microorganisms than whatever came through our guts. That's what is the function of our gut in the world society anyway. Our guts are connected to our brain, but our guts are connected to our soil. You don't have a soil, you go nowhere. And so this is how we are designing what I call complex systems. But this is how we generate, from another angle, multiple revenues. This is how we generate resilience in society. This is how we can regenerate communities. Because I tell you, in Germany and Berlin, we have implemented this now, and we are giving the diapers for free. We don't have a billionaire funding this. We just changed the business model. We're giving the diapers for free on one condition. When you receive the diapers for free, you bring the soiled diapers back to me. I'm not picking them up. You come and drop them off. Now, when you drop them off, you get a new bucket of diapers. What do you think is happening? Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, a queue. People are queuing up. Why? Diapers for free that are turned into black soil. Who does not want to be part of that revolution? And what are we doing? We're giving the soil. So I wanted to take you through a lot of things with bamboo, but I need, in the beginning of this, I've gotten this privilege to talk to you in the very beginning. I want your mind to go, wow! And now we're only learning about how to build with bamboo? I mean, is this all? Why don't we diapers today, you know? I would like you to get the sense of pleasure of working with a diaper, you know? It's nothing more enriching, but the beauty is that when we made our calculations, we realized that one baby produces 1 ton of black earth per year. That is the diaper stuff plus its fresh food. We're hoping you're not doing the little hip pots with organic little feed. We're hoping you're doing fresh fruits, particularly when you're in an environment like this where there's such an abundance of fruits. I mean, you should be giving the baby the fruits. But when you're doing that, you have a ton. What do you do with a ton of black earth? You know what it is? 1 baby, 1 ton black earth. And with 1 kilogram of black earth, I can give enough nutrition for a fruit tree to take off for 10 years. Enough nutrition to take off for 10 years. That means, can you calculate with me? 1 baby, 1,000 kilograms. 1,000 kilograms, 1,000 trees. 1,000 trees, 50 kilograms after 5 years. Every baby is good for 50 tons of fruits. This is what I call regenerative economy. This is regenerating society. Because what happens? The first time people come with their soil bucket to the 9 o'clock appointment in the center of Kreuzberg in Germany. Anyone from Germany here? Kreuzberg, you know Kreuzberg, so that's the right type of people to get going with. And so we're in Kreuzberg, they all queue up there. And of course, the first few times they meet on Saturday morning, they talk about diapers. Now, after 3-4 weeks, they don't want to talk about diapers anymore. I mean, you're in the routine. Well, what are you going to talk about? Well, you're going to talk about toys. Because you realize if that's what's happening with diapers, what's happening with the toys? Guess what? PVC. All toys in PVC, including the Lego. I mean, I don't know. Does anyone ever will expose Lego that they're the biggest consumer and distributor of PVC in the hands of kids? PVC? I don't know if you know PVC, but it's not exactly what you should have in your body. But now people start talking about toys. And guess what? People say, if these guys have been able to do that with bamboo and it's turned into a diaper, what can we do with toys? You get parents, entrepreneurs on toys. And they don't, and we advise them not to go on the internet and buy the toys which were made wherever in the world and shipped around in cardboard boxes by Amazon. You can make them yourself. Get the jobs going. But then the sixth and seventh week, they start talking about clothing. And then they realize what kind of rubbish of clothing they're using. And then we're talking about the shampoo that should never have been put on the hair of the baby in the first place. We should never shampoo a baby. Never. We shouldn't even use soap on a baby. So all the discussions keep on going. And you all started with what? With a diaper. The basis of life. Ingestion, digestion, excretion, period. Re-getting it back to the soil. So this is where I am. I've moved you now from the coffee farmer to Kreuzberg in Berlin. And there's one common denominator that I've found everywhere is bamboo. Bamboo is widely available, grows even if you don't wish it to grow. It grows all the time. It has a life force. And what we need to bring back into our communities and into our families is a life force. And bamboo is one of these very unique life forces. It's life. It defies. Of course, kelp grows even faster than bamboo, but kelp has the advantage that it doesn't have to go against gravity. So, that helps. But we are knowing that there are a few things in the world that nature has given us as a gift that allows us to have this extraordinary force in life, this extraordinary regenerative capacity. The beauty of the Colombian bamboos, the Gualua angustifolia, is that the Gualua will keep on going for 70 years. It flowers, it dies, and it has just replenished the soil with carbon. Wow. It's what the thistles do in Europe. So what do we do with thistles in Europe? We spray them with glyphosates because they're replenishing the soil. So what we're doing is we're seeing that by exposing people to these multiple opportunities, we're creating a capacity to redesign our society. Because when we're exposed to all these opportunities, then we are empowering ourselves. Because it's not about having shortages, not about poverty, hunger, no housing, bad quality housing. It's about knowing that there is such an incredible regenerative capacity that allows us to redesign the way we drink coffee, we put diapers on our babies, and we redesign how we get soil to grow up again and how we can use the best forces of life. And bamboo is definitely one of them. Definitely one of them. And therefore, your role here is really to become not just bamboo ambassadors. I see you as people who become ambassadors for the invigoration of life, regeneration of community and society, inspiring young people to see portfolios of opportunities and not worried about the drama that is unfolding right next to us and before us and behind us. We need to become immune to that. And we need to have avengers who are just focusing on getting things done. Because one of the greatest illnesses we have in society is that we talk and we don't do. We are the blah blah society. We talk, we promise, we take pictures, we do photo ops, we organize international conferences, and then we don't do. This is the real illness of our communities today. A lot of talk, no do. So I came the first time to Bali in 1995 for the World Bamboo Congress. 93? No.
Yeah, we got married. I remember very well.
But 93, I was still, no, well, maybe it was another Congress. But I came to Bali the first time and I didn't know anything about bamboo. And when, of course, you come here, you look at just everywhere. It's just amazing. And that's when I decided to create, for the millennium, the year 2000, two things. I decided to create the largest bamboo structure in modern history, the year 2000. And we built it. We didn't make a budget. We didn't make proposals. We just decided to do it. I didn't know at the time that this was going to be for the World Expo in Hanover, and I didn't know the Germans would require a building permit. How could I ever forget that detail? Because in Colombia, you don't ask for building permits, I was told. But of course, I had forgotten a little detail. Germans have a slightly different approach to building security. So I ended up paying 3 times more for the permit than I paid for the building. 3 times more. But I tell you, in 9 months, I had the permit. And I realized that the Universidad de Manizales, and la Autónoma de Manizales, and la Tecnológica de Pereira, all these universities had no credibility in Germany. In Germany, the only one who has credibility is a German university. And so I was fortunate enough to meet up with Sir Norman Foster. And he had just done the dome over the Reichstag, over the parliament. And the parliament, of course, was the symbol for the reunification of Germany. But that goddamn parliament, the Soviets were under control for so long and they had eliminated all the plans. So there were no plans. And as a result, if there's no plans, how do you calculate stability, flexibility, tensile strength, and you name it? There was no way to do it. So Sir Norman invited a German professor from the Technische Universität Bremen, Professor Klaus Steffens, Professor Dr. Ingenieur Klaus Steffens, and he made calculations that were accepted by Parliament. Parliament had to decide this is the way you do the calculations when you don't have plans. And as a result, Sir Norman said, hire Professor Steffens. I had to write a 6-number check for him to get interested. But I tell you, we got the science for bamboo going. Sometimes it's a crusade. Sometimes it's not easy. Actually, most of the time, it's not easy. But what we succeeded in doing is we were able to get the technology and the mindset and the methodology from Sir Norman Foster and his power as a star to put it behind bamboo. And we got the science so perfectly in order. There was only one caveat. The Germans imposed the construction of 2 pavilions to compare the statistical difference between the movement of both. That means I build in Manizales, then I build in Germany. They tested Manizales, they tested Germany, and then statistically there was no difference between the two. That's why I spent 3 times more, because I had to build 2 times. Now the Germans, for some reason, decided to destroy my pavilion. The official explanation is they needed parking space. In Germany, that works. The real reason is that the Greens were so upset with my statements about zero emissions and about the way they were making policy suggestions and what we were doing, that apparently not even Trittin could be in favor of having that pain in the eye, and a bit lower sometimes as well, to have it continue there. So my pavilion was destroyed with dynamite. Dynamited. Because they couldn't destroy it with a sling. They tried for 3 days with a sling. It didn't go down. So when it doesn't go down with a sling, the Germans know how to put dynamite, and they put it on a waste dump. It's one of my greatest. No, that was a police cordon. It was completely policed off. They knew that if I would get images of that, I do have a few images of photography, but it was then dumped on the landfill. Dumped on the landfill. I was able to save 1 little piece thanks to a worker, and that's in my home, kept for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're a change agent, you better be prepared for some forces against you. I would like you to think positive, but I think I also need to inject a little sense of realism. When you're thinking different, some people like to nail it back in. And this is hard reality. This is society. And that is why I made my biggest failure. I was too much alone. I was creating waves. And I've learned with that experience that if you want to be successful, you can't create waves. You have to be a surfer. You need to learn how to surf. Ride the waves. Don't create your waves. If you create waves, you go bankrupt. If you create your own waves, you get tired, frustrated, depressed. Because you don't understand why someone wants to put dynamite under this most popular pavilion. 6.4 million people visited the bamboo pavilion. 6.4 million. It's the most popular ever. And it was bombed. And the media didn't cover it. Because even in Germany, in the year 2000, they can control media. Now, when you're up to that, that's when you go low. And that's when you become a mushroom, a mycelium. I decided that it was no use to have that big visibility because the forces against you are enormous. We got to be as smart as a mushroom. Go low, get things done, move on. And when the time is right, pop up. When the time is right, pop up. When you pop up with so many at the same time, there's no way to harvest everything. There's no hammer that can knock it all down. And this is what we need. So we need to be very realistic about how life is organized. But after that bombing, I decided to have a different strategy, and that was education. I thought the only way to succeed long term is to inspire the kids. So at the World Expo, for the first time, I wrote and published one of my fables, The Strongest Tree. And that fable was translated in more than 100 languages. And I realized that when you explain to a child what this is all about, children get so inspired and don't understand that their parents don't get it. So as a result, every child knows how the apple got up in the tree. Doesn't know the 7 laws of physics, but knows exactly how it works. Can't say it in the language of science, but knows how it is. And what we need is to create not the wisdom, not be able to answer the multiple choice questions with absolute perfection so you can graduate from high school. What we need is, do we sense the system, the ecosystem within which we can operate, and where we need a wealth of knowledge, but for all, a clarity in our mind where we want to go. And you deciding to come here to this event is you have decided where to go. And that's why I'm very happy to be with you. But I'm asking you one thing that you take home from this meeting and from my presentation. When you go home, you promise yourself, from now on, every day, you tell a 3-minute positive story to a child every day. If everyone says, inspires, talks about something inspiring every day to one child, we change the world. Because that child is not going to be an investment long term, because that child is going to talk mom and dad. And mom and dad is not ready to change. But when that little girl or that little boy is nagging dad, I tell you, dad is changing. The only way to get fast change in this society that we have is that kids want mom and dad to change. And I think this is the power that we need to unleash. We got to be inspired. We got to have clarity in mind. We have to know how to surf on these waves, spot those waves. But then we have to be able to inspire children so the children make their parents change. Thank you.